Hello and welcome to Capital, the community of holders and seekers of African capital. I'm your host, JS, and before we start with today's Capital Talk, let us highlight our core community ideology. And it's all about the production function, guys. In order to make Africa great again, is through economic strength. And economic strength is through output. We need to be able to generate output through labor and capital allocation and increase. Guys, every all of our videos will start this way because it needs to be emphasized. We need to dream about it. It has to be in our subconscious. Everything, our life depends on this. You know, making Africa great again starts from here. Okay, let's get it. Capital Talk, go on. I came across this article, interesting article. I came across this interesting article, Evolving Supplier Development Alongside the Future of African Mining. It's from ABSC CIB. ABSC, it's Amalgamated Banks of South Africa. It's a huge group of banks in South Africa. They do everything from investment to commercial banking, credit cards, and so forth. So the article goes on, start off rather. In the late 80s, Anglo-American pioneered an innovative supplier development model in South Africa through a suite of enterprise funds known as Zimele. The mining giant provided financial support to aspiring entrepreneurs from historically disadvantaged communities. So I believe Native Africans, leveraging its sector expertise and procurement networks as catalysts for fostering SME growth and driving broader socially responsible economic development. SMEs, actually, as you can see, it's highlighted here because it's really important for any economy. You need a lot of SMEs for your economy to be prosperous. And because you have billionaires, you need millionaires, and those millionaires they're here in the SMEs. So apparently, these funds, this Anglo-American, was basically the plug for those guys. They let them in. They show them how to do the work, how the work is done. They connected them to their network of procurement, as they say, to their procurement networks rather. Let's go down here. What really caught my attention to this article is this section here. We're gonna read it out. With the world now moving towards a low carbon future, the focus of African mining will inevitably shift towards critical minerals such as lithium, cobalt, nickel, copper, and rare earth elements. There's plenty of all of those in the continent, from north to south, east to west. Those are teeming, they're everywhere. This presents a duality. While significant reserves in these critical minerals offer the continent immense opportunities to build new supplier development programs, incorporating integrated value-added industries, it also subjects traditional mining operations to heightened scrutiny under stringent environmental social governance frameworks impacting demand, profitability, and subsequently supplier development spend. So basically, what this guy is saying, from my understanding, if you want to get into the game, you need to go by those environmental, social, and governance frameworks. Supplier will also undoubtedly face mounting pressure to align with stricter ASG standards. As I was saying, guys, you have to remember mining is a very capital intensive activity. So even to start off, you need either equity financing or debt financing. So if now they include ESG standards, wow. We're going to talk about the financial piece in a couple of seconds. Let's continue this paragraph. This extends beyond token sustainability measures, demanding substantive changes such as reducing carbon emissions across their supply chains, using renewable energy in production, and embedding circular economy principles into their operations. Mining companies, in turn, will expect their suppliers to demonstrate measurable conditions to share their sustainability goals, making ESG compliance a prerequisite rather than a differentiator. Whew, this is huge, guys. This is huge. So basically, as the article started in the 80s, just had to bring the guys in and show them the work, and they were golden. They were golden. They could build their companies, their SMEs, and the economy will grow. Now with ESG, to get into the business, to get into the game, you have to abide by the sustainability goals, making ESG compliance a prerequisite rather than a differentiator. So it's gonna be like mandatory right off the bat. And when we were talking about the future of financing, so this is another article from ABSC. Future fit financing for African mining hinges on ESG. So they already acknowledge that. As I was saying, mining capital intensive, you need investment upfront. And how do you get it? If you don't have equity available to you, it's through debt. So the article is from Dean Hack, Director for Coverage, Resources and Energy, ABSC Securities, United Kingdom. So it's the same firm, Amalgamated Banks of South Africa. They have a UK desk. So those guys are big for African standards, in my opinion. So the article right off the bat, the world is rewriting its rulebook. It's no longer just about what you produce, but how you produce it. So this is unbelievable, guys. You know, they used to to kick about you guys need to produce at home. You guys need to bring the value chain. The value added has to be at home. The processing and so forth of your mineral has to be at home. But now it's not about what you produce. It's how you produce it. You need some rainbows, you need some painted nails, you need everything that you need. It's how you produce it. Unbelievable. For resource-rich regions like Africa, the implications are profound. The value of its vast reserves of critical minerals is now tied not only to their abundance, but also to the ethical and sustainable frameworks governing their extraction and processing. From this article, this is the piece that I retained that I wanted to highlight to you guys. From one perspective, you know which perspective we're talking about when we talk about one perspective. This scrutiny is justified, of course. The global climate crisis demands urgent actions, and decarbonizing industries like mining is an essential part of that response. That I agree, guys. That unfortunately I have to agree. We have one planet that we know we can live on and exploit. Right now we're cursed, we're like a cancer to this planet, destroying everything. I, I don't want to say I believe in climate change because the planet I've seen like several events of climate change, but it has nothing. It's never been hot. It was always glaciation and then less cold, but it's never been like it's hot. Because when it's hot, we're gonna lose the water, and then without water, we do. Anyway, so my point is, I'm conscious of that we need sustainable ways to exploit our resources. Let's go back to the article. African mining cannot be an exception to this, especially since critical minerals like cobalt, lithium, and rare earth are central to enabling the green energy transition globally. Of course, for those electric vehicles, you need those minerals, and I've seen some articles saying that the amount of processing or the amount of pollution from extracting all those minerals to build the batteries could be higher than the lifetime emissions from a gas car. That's a subject for another day. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Anyway, let's continue. For the world to achieve net zero goals, every link in the supply chain, including mining, must contribute. Again, I agree. This is our planet. We only have one, guys. So we have to take care of it. However, the counterpoint is equally valid. This pressure comes in a context of global inequity. African nations bear minimal historical responsibility for the carbon emissions driving climate change. Thank you. Thank you. Because I'm sorry for the Western world, for most of their history, they were able to, accumulate and allocate their capital with factors such as free labor. So the labor was basically free for most of their capital accumulation period, and there were no regulations to their capital deployment. They could do whatever they want. You know, they had no constraints to their capital. That's unbelievable. But now that the tides are turning in our favor, now we look like we can compete. We can, now is it unfair? As I said, we have to take care of the planet. But anyway, let's continue. African nations bear minimal historical responsibility for the carbon emissions driving climate change, yet they are being asked to shoulder significant burdens in the form of decarbonization, often without sufficient financial or technological support. I agree, Mr. Dean. To me, it's not fair if we've been priced at the same level. So, guys, I feel like we're going a little too fast. We have to understand actually what are those ASG, what is ESG? So ESG is a framework. It developed from what I've gathered. It's an investment philosophy that started in the early 2000s, and it was mostly activist investors. It was considered activism at the time. So you had those activist investors. They had the philosophy that you win if you care. So they started caring. So you have to care about, the environmental piece. You have to care about the social and the governance of your company. Those are ESG risks. Because if you care about those, you're going to win. So the argument was that if you apply all those, if you correctly price those risks in your uh, uh, return expectations, you're going to win. Or if you focus or emphasize on those, you're going to win. So let's review those. What are those? So you have the environmental, climate change, and um, GHG emissions, loss of biodiversity, pollution, waste, water security, deforestation. So in a lot of those, you have a mix, you have the Western world that can suffer. I see Asia suffering from, though Asia is turning the green transformation with a lot of electrical or electricity capability, renewable electricity, renewable energy. We're going to summarize at that. They have solar panels, they have wind turbines. So they're getting better at this. But for us African, the governance piece, we're going to be nicked. Especially so I'm not sure how it's going to work, the ESG risk, but from my experience, it's probably going to be the same as a credit risk, you know? So you have your triple A's, you have your double A's, you have your A's, and then you have the B's, so you have your investment grades. We're gonna be scored that way if there's a risk. So I'm assuming there's already a standard, and there is already a standard. We're gonna talk about it a little later. So you have the governance, bribery, and corruption. Africans, it's rampant everywhere. So we're gonna definitely score low here. Policies and standards, definitely a low score as well. Board diversity and structure. We don't have board, we don't have structure, at least in most of French Africa where I'm from. executive remunerations. That's kind of, but it does matter, you know. You want to make sure that your executive are compensated well, but not extravagantly. Donations and political lobbying. I don't know what type of relationship they're going to put to this, positive or negative. Do you need more donation or political lobbying? In my opinion, it's kind of harmful because now you have those lobbies having so much power because they control so much capital. And then on the social front, you have health and safety. So definitely something that you need to care about, health and safety, because you need your miners to be working in conditions that they can go back to their family at the end of the day. So I agree with that. Diversity and inclusion. Do we really care about um, if you have nails or if you paint your nails or not? Can you move dirt as a miner? So I don't see how diversity and inclusion matters here. Inequalities. What type of inequalities are they talking about? These are very broad words. So again, subject to interpretation, and since they are the judge and the jury, will most likely be scored less or lesser than them or lower than them, I should say. Employees' relations, working conditions, again here they're gonna nick. So there's a lot of stuff here that they can nick us on. They can be like, you guys are not, you know, we can score very low here in most of if you know because when I look at governance specifically, all of those, they can find ways to put it down here, put us down here. Same for social governance, like bribery and corruption, I can already say. But again, those are important factors. We need to get rid of it. So if we need to abide by those, standards, that's actually good for them as well, for us as well. So in my opinion, you have some good ESG, you have some bad. So diversity and inclusion, I don't care. Can you move dirt? Yes or no? So from that front, I was kind of curious because reading this, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, it seems like there's some good ESG and some bad. So I came across this article throughout my research from Sonam saying it's a doctoral candidate in marketing. Again, it's going to be linked below. So this the research that they did. When non-materiality is material, impact of ESG emphasis on firm value. Interesting read. I recommend it. That's why it's part of the talk today. When non-materiality is material. This study examines the presence of the presence and impact of emphasizing non-material ESG factors on firm value. ESG factors are considered non-material. So there are some material. So there are some ESG that that are material and the others that are non-materials. Non-material. ESG factors are considered non-material when excluding them from corporate disclosure will not significantly alter the overall information available to reasonable investors. So basically, what does that mean? What that means is if you have a company and the company tells you that we have a diversity and inclusion, do you really care? Or if they tell you that we have anti-bribery and corruption uh, policies in place, you probably care more about the bribery and corruption than the diversity and inclusion. That seems fair to me. So now the research goes on to say they demonstrate that on average, managers emphasize on non-material ESGs, i.e., diversity and inclusion, non-material ESGs more than material ESG issues. Furthermore, they find a positive association between non-material ESG emphasis and media mentions of the firms. So if you want to be talked about, do non-material ESGs, do the GIs basically. Notably, a 10% higher emphasis on non-material ESG factors leads to a significant 10.7 decline in firm value. Wow, that's huge. So the more you do non-material ESG, the lesser the value of your company. Wow, a factor of zero point 0.7, that's kind of huge to me. Factor of zero point 0.7 decline. Ooh, actually, anyway, great article. They have this map as well, um, for their data. It's a web app, rather. Again, I'll link that. So basically, that's it. So you have some material, so you have some non-material, and you have some material. But we also have to make sure that, who judges the non-material? What are the material, So there needs to be also a framework, and there already is a framework. It's from the Sustainability um, Accounting Board, SASB. Let me see if I can pull that up for you guys. Hold on. Yeah, let me see if I can pull that out. So that's the article. So yes, so that's the map, right? As I was saying, it's from the ASASB, the Sustainability Accounting Board, and the mission of the SASB is to enable businesses around the world to identify, manage, and communicate financially material sustainability information to the investors. It identifies 26 material ESG disclosure topics across industries and sectors. So this is what we have for the mining, for extractives and minerals processing. So those are the material ESG factors. So those that actually matters, you know. And let's read some of them. So in environment, you have air quality for sure. As a miner, you have to worry about that on the environmental side, the pollution side. Water and waste management, sure, I agree. Social capital, that's more the social side of the ESG, the S side. So you have consumer transparency. No, it's not material. So we are here at the red part. Selling practices, we don't really care. Labor practices, we have to care on some of them. Oil and gas, metal and mining, with the miners, you need to care about labor practices. So let's say leadership, business ethics, competitive behaviors. So those are kind of material. I agree with those. So I'm glad that we have the SASB, the Sustainability Accounting Board, to that kind of develop this framework, and we can use that to base ourselves for in order to gauge whether or not we're ready for the ESG framework for our mining industry. So that was it, guys. Let me know what you think. Is ESG a threat or an opportunity for us? I'm inclined to agree because, as I was saying, we only have this one planet. We have to take care of it. But at the same time, should we be judged through the same lens, or can we have like you know, I don't know what to say. So can we have something that help us because we didn't contribute as much to the state that we are in right now, though we acknowledge that we have to do something. This is our planet, it's for all of us, Africans, non-Africans. All right, guys, that was the Capital Talk. Let me know what you think in comments. See you in the next one. Bye bye.